Before streaming became a common way of biting into anime, I was usually watching anime that were on TV, such as what was shown on the Cartoon Network block Toonami, plus what I was able to get my hands on physically, such as my anime DVDs at the time, such as Neon Genesis Evangelion and the original Ghost in the Shell film. One day back in high school, a classmate, who was one of my friends to this very day, was watching an anime on one of the school's computers. And that's how I took a bite into Hellsing. I know, little personal history of how I got into this particular anime, and I've been ordered by the Hellsing organization to not disclose anything further, because after all, this is a review. Howdy, Full Metal Cowboys, straight shooting a review of an anime that I cannot help but nickname Hellsing Inferior. And I know that nickname pretty much spoiled my verdict on this anime, but let's not kid ourselves. Hellsing Ultimate sent its predecessor somewhere within the 9 circles of hell. Hellsing is a Gonzo production. Oh, Gonzo, Gonzo, Gonzo. Where do I begin with that studio? They are infamous for producing abominations in anime with their reliance on awful 3D animation. If they made something that is truly a diamond in the rough in regards to their entire work as a studio, then it's truly a godsend. Otherwise, they are a studio worth ripping apart! Anyway, Hellsing aired from 2001 to 2002. It is chief directed by Uminosuke Ida, who has not done much before and since Hellsing. And there are 11 directors that accompany Uminosuke Ida throughout this production. Holy shit! Is that why Hellsing is so fun? Having this many directors is not always a bad thing. For example, The Animatrix had multiple directors collaborating in an anthology of stories relating to The Matrix. In that, you have a variety of styles, both in artistic merit and direction, that actually made for a unique experience within the Matrix franchise. Hellsing is an anime series with its own plot and characters to follow. Hellsing didn't need this amount of directors in its entire run. Seeing as how I am not a fan of Gonzo as a studio, you probably are thinking I hate the way Hellsing looks. Yes, I do, but not entirely. Some of the character designs do look pretty good. Sometimes. The backgrounds can look good, but Gonzo does use lazy shortcuts throughout the run of Hellsing. Then there's the animation itself, which I think looked fine for starters, but oh my god, it gets pretty bad at times. As violent as Hellsing can get at first, it shies away from being a bloodfest. I get that this was made for a television broadcast, but shit! Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood got bloody at times, and this couldn't get a little gory here and there. Also, before Hellsing even came out, there was the original Berserk anime series, which was a bloodfest. Plus, it showed tits. So why the hell can't Hellsing be a bloodfest? It wasn't afraid to have an off-screen blowjob scene between 2 vampires, so if they can show that to some extent, why can't they show a bit of a bloodfest here and there? Also, what is with the ghouls having jizz for blood? At the very least, thank God that Gonzo didn't use their awful 3D animation that they were infamous for in the 2000s. Although some of that 3D animation was in there, but they didn't overuse it. The music was done by Yasushi Ishii, and he has done little in composing music for anime. It's not hard to see Hellsing being his most notable work. He is assisted by Tatsuo Tabe with guitar and Yasukazu Tabe with composition assistance. Yeah, I went into the details on who does the music and all those little other details. What I really want to talk about the music is how groovy it sounds. Even if I took a bloody shit on this anime, I do think the music is to some degree the best part about Hellsing. At times it fits the atmosphere, oftentimes it fits the style all too well. Hatred Guy of Sinfulness. More on that freak later. By far the highlight in the entire soundtrack is the opening theme. It's just too bad the opening visuals are subpar in some places. At least it's consistent with the overall quality of Hellsing's animation. The ending theme is not typical in anime, as it is provided by the band Mr. Big with their song Shine. The lyrics certainly complement Ceres Victoria's character arc in the series, and I think the song is just fine. Is it just me, or do you think it could have been more fitting if a British music artist provided the ending theme instead? Hellsing is set in England, after all.
That's not a bad argument there, FMC. Who do you think could have provided Hellsing's ending theme? Radiohead?
No! They wouldn't click with Hellsing's coolness!
Whatever you say, Radiohead junkie.
Hey! I'm fine with one of my friends calling me that, but not you!
Oh, come on. Isn't there one song they did that you think could work in Hellsing?
No! Hellsing is not a depressing anime!
What about We Suck Young Blood?
No!
Here, let me play it for those unaware of the song.
Ah, sweet Jesus!
Come on, man, it totally fits Hellsing.
I hate you, fucking asshole. The original Japanese cast certainly has a few voices worth hearing, and you can't go wrong with Joji Nakata sounding badass as Alucard. Hellsing in its original Japanese version is perfectly watchable. I'm not against watching Hellsing subtitled, it's just that I bloody love the dub of Hellsing. Even though it is not what I would call an A+ dub because of a few places of laughable delivery, Crispin Freeman is a prime example of why you should watch Hellsing dubbed. Now, I could just say that the dub is definitely worth your time and move on to the next subject, but I actually want to dive into the casting of the dub of Hellsing, since I find this dub to be a rare treat when it comes to English dubbed anime, as many cast members in this particular series are not common names in English dubbed anime. And honestly, I don't know if I'll ever get the time to actually mention these cast members and anything else when I review anime, so I'm actually going to take the time to tell you who exactly is in the cast that I think is worth pointing out. And don't expect me to give the same treatment when I talk about the dub of Hellsing Ultimate, because some of these cast members do reprise their roles in Hellsing Ultimate with its dub. Katie Gray is an American, and she pulled off a great British accent for the role of Ceres Victoria. The dub managed to involve cast members from outside the United States, with the British voice actress Victoria Harwood and the Scottish actor Stephen Brand. Both were equally exceptional in their roles as Sir Integra and Father Anderson. Even a couple actors who are more into film and television roles were cast in Hellsing as well, with Ralph Lister as Walter and the late William Morgan Shepherd as Peter Farguson, who were both just as excellent as many of the prominent cast of Hellsing. Taliesin Jaffe is responsible for the voice direction here, and Hellsing would go down as one of his greatest legacies in ADR directing. Period. Alright, I've been sucking on this dub's blood long enough. I'm sure the veins of its characters are going to be fun to draw from. Who doesn't love Alucard? He's a bloody gun-toting badass! And that's where the major flaw with him lies. He's not written with much decency to go around. In other words, he's not really that interesting of a character, especially with him being a main character. Now, before anyone cuts my throat open, I just want to address that this nitpick is only applicable to this version of Hellsing, not in Hellsing Ultimate, and not in Hellsing Ultimate Abridged. I'm sure you're wondering why I even brought that up, but as far as I'm concerned, bitches love Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, and I'm a bitch.
So you're willing to be my bitch after all?
Fuck you! Despite how simple Alucard is written, I suppose kicking ass and taking names can be seen as a positive in this anime's case, because that really is the constant positive with Alucard. It's just that he is easily the inferior Alucard of all the versions of Hellsing, when you take the two animes into account, as well as the manga. Of all the characters, Sarah's Victoria has a significant arc that I think really stood out here within the Hellsing franchise. Her adapting to her new vampiric life and having an existential crisis with her own humanity made for an interesting development of her character. And this was one thing I really liked about this adaptation of Hellsing. Another character that stood out was Sir Integra, whom we learn of her connection with Alucard much later in the series, which is nice. She is also one of the more proactive characters, as she doesn't put up with bullshit, and she is perfectly capable of dealing with certain matters by her own hands, even if it risks her life. She too is badass, and a little more interesting than Alucard. There's also Walter, who is a kick-ass butler. Perfectly fine for a supporting character, if you ask me. As far as antagonists go, Father Alexander Anderson makes for an entertaining rival for Alucard. Whenever these men clash, it's bound to be a highlight in Hellsing. Too bad they have unfinished business as the series ended. Lastly, there's the Super Valentine Brothers. One is calm and collected, and the other is a loudmouth douche nozzle who just won't shut the fuck up. Okay, just fucking with ya. Now, where was I? Yes, Incognito. I never cared for this character one bit. He comes in late in the series, and he happens to be the one responsible for the creation of the freak chip. And I do not care one bit.
You've run out of your puny man-made bullets, blessed with the power of your puny god.
I know this is going to be an odd comparison for me to make here, but Incognito's voice in the dub reminds me a lot of Xerxes in the film 300, even though that film came out 5 years after this anime finished.
Embrace me, as her king and as her god.
Just a second.
Embrace me, as her king and as her god.
Couldn't help it. Even if a few characters were a little more interesting than the rest, the plot is another thing entirely. Sure, it started off on a decent note, but there was a good deal of investment in writing in the freak chip subplot, which I did not find very interesting at all. Sure, there is a connection between the freak chip and Incognito, who later shows up, but the concept of freak chips turning people into artificial vampires is something I never thought raised the stakes because of how much thought went into the plotline throughout Hellsing's run. This anime is certainly character-driven when it counts. The plot is hell in a handbasket. At the end of the day, the original Hellsing anime is not great, but there are a few qualities that do make it worth watching. The dub, of course, is one of them, and the music isn't really too bad. I also think Hellsing could be enjoyed for an entirely different reason. It certainly has bad qualities, and it wouldn't hurt to watch this anime and laugh at it. You're better off seeing it that way since Hellsing Ultimate exists and is complete and also much better! Now you know why I nicknamed this anime Hellsing Inferior. I am shooting a 3 out of 10 for Hellsing. And now my review of the anime that I like to nickname Hellsing Inferior can drift off into the sunset. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a question that's going to be raised, and I'm sure I'm going to be asked this for the time to come. That question being, when will I review Hellsing Ultimate? And my answer to that question, should I be asked, is this. Someday, I will review Hellsing Ultimate. Just not right now. I want to save Hellsing Ultimate for a special occasion, a milestone. What would that milestone be? Well, I don't really want to reveal that just yet. So, hopefully you understand. One of these days, I will review Hellsing Ultimate. Perhaps I want to leave room for perhaps making it a special occasion. Maybe that's how I want to execute that review in that fashion. Maybe I want to get some friends to tag along with me on that one, because I do have a few friends that love the ever-living shit out of Hellsing Ultimate. So, who knows? Maybe I might make that review quite the party of a production. Who knows? Time's gonna only tell on how that review turns out. So hopefully the wait will be worth it when that time comes. Maybe I might just solo that review like this one. But we'll see. But I want to leave just a good amount of time open, I mean a large amount of time open, for anything to come about before production of my review of Hellsing Ultimate gets even started. So, whatever happens, happens when it comes to my review of Hellsing Ultimate. But one day I will review it. And hopefully you'll look forward to it when that time comes. So, there's that. And I think I'm going to end the review right here on that note. So, I'll be reloading for my next review. So, until then...
FMC, I know now why you hate the song We Suck Young Blood.
Oh, sweet Jesus in heaven!
Do not take your Lord's name in vain.
Who the fuck are you?
That's the Squirrel of Judgment.
Huh?
He's a God-given meme to humans, as well as being present on behalf of priests.
When you repent, I'll be here to listen to your confession.
But I'm not Catholic.
Hey FMC, I got an anime I think you should review next.
Oh, that's new of you, Pimp Squirrel. What is it? Some anime I'm trying to avoid?
Not really. I actually have a good anime for you to review. Here's what I have in mind. See you then.